Bless your family. It's your Las Vegas neighbor, the story Administrator Sanders, giving you some Las Vegas Black history. Y'all, we're going to talk about Mr. Ed and Mrs. Betty Brown, y'all. You know, it seems like every time I do research about, old school black publications, there's always like an influential black couple behind it. You know, we had the Johnsons with Ebony Jet magazine in Chicago, and in Las Vegas, we had the Brown family. Both from New Jersey, came to Las Vegas with media and publishing backgrounds. Mr. Brown was a general manager of a radio station in New Jersey. He had been involved in media and radio since the 50s. Matter of fact, in the 1960s, when MLK Jr. was assassinated, he was the first one to get on radio saying, now that MLK has been assassinated, we need to make his day or make a day a national holiday in honor of MLK. And so that's a little bit of history for y'all. Again, he was one of the first people to think about making MLK Day a national holiday. They ended up creating the Las Vegas Sentinel in 1980. They started the paper to be in competition with the Las Vegas Voice that was started by Dr. Charles West, who was the first black doctor in Nevada. In 1982, they purchased the Vegas Voice from Dr. West, and they end up merging the two papers. So now you got, the Las Vegas Voice, the Las Vegas Sentinel, and they make it the Las Vegas Sentinel Voice. And if you know about that paper, both papers were very influential, but when they purchased the Voice and they merged the two papers, I mean, they really was on to something. The Las Vegas Sentinel Voice became a larger voice now because now they have the history of the Voice and now they have the paper they already had for the last 2 years. And it just became a real big platform and a real big voice for the community. Unfortunately, at the age of 71 in 1988, Mr. Ed Brown will pass away, leaving the publication in the hands of his wife. And so eventually she would bring in her son, Lee Brown, and they will continue to keep the publication going. But the Las Vegas Sentinel Voice and the Brown family, were big instruments, in a lot of change in Las Vegas. They were very instrumental in making sure that the paper talked about current issues, current affairs, making sure they highlighted individuals doing positive things. They would travel, going to different conventions and going to different, cities, seeing what their publications were doing, and they truly made a huge difference, with black media, specifically in Las Vegas and in Nevada. And in 1995, Miss Betty would pass away at the age of 69. The paper is no longer in publication. It ended in the 2000s, but the legacy is still here along with the Brown family.